Darkness stretched across the endless void of space, and for centuries it had been quiet. Humanity had searched for signs of life among the stars, building radio telescopes, launching probes and whispering to the cosmos, hoping someone would answer. But nothing had ever spoken back until now. It began as a faint signal on a cold winter night at an outpost far beyond Mars. A young technician named Malik almost ignored it, thinking it was just static from a solar flare. The sound was strange, a low thrum that rose and fell in perfect rhythm. He leaned closer to his screen eyes, narrowing. The pattern repeated once, then again. Then something happened that made his heart race. Numbers appeared in the sequence like a countdown starting at 10 by. The time Malik called his superior, the numbers had already dropped to 6. Across the solar system, alarms blared as data streamed into Earth's defense network. This was no natural phenomenon. This was intelligent. It was deliberate. Humanity had been waiting for this moment, but never like this. In the control room of Earth's United Defense Command, silence fell as the final number vanished from the transmission. Everyone held their breath, staring at the dark monitors, waiting for whatever. It came next. Then the stars at the edge of the solar system shifted. They weren't stars at all, but shapes massive and unnatural. Black silhouettes slid into view against the distant glow of the sun. Their outlines were sharp, angular, like spears of metal cutting through the void. The first alien ships had arrived, reports flooded in at once. They were huge, larger than anything humanity had ever built. Some were kilometers long, bristling with strange protrusions that glowed with eerie blue light. Their movements were precise, cold, and mechanical. Within minutes, Earth's satellites were overwhelmed, tracking more than 20 of the colossal ships entering orbit around Neptune and Uranus. The galaxy had finally spoken, and its voice was terrifying. Panic spread across Earth faster than the signal had. Human news channels scrambled to broadcast grainy images of the incoming fleet. Crowds filled city streets, staring at the sky, even though the alien ships were still far beyond the reach of human eyes. In homes, schools, and offices, the same question echoed again and again. What do they want? The leaders of Earth had no time to answer. The United Nations Security Council gathered in emergency session. Generals whispered to one another, scientists studied every detail of the alien arrivals. Politicians tried to calm a terrified population. But behind closed doors, their hands trembled. The aliens had not spoken. They had not sent a greeting or an introduction. They had only sent the countdown. And now, they were here in orbit around Earth's moon, the Defender fleet prepared for deployment. Sleek warships that had never faced a true enemy powered up their engines. The ships were humanity's pride, created after decades of fear that someday first. Contact might not be friendly. Each one was armed with railguns, missile arrays, and the newest plasma lances, weapons that had never been tested against anything beyond human steel. The flagship Resolute Admiral Chen stood before the vast viewports, watching as the alien shapes grew larger on tactical displays. His crew waited for orders, eyes wide with both fear and determination. Chen's voice was calm, but his knuckles were white as he gripped the rail. No one speaks to them yet. We don't know what they want. We hold position, but holding position did little to calm the crew's nerves. The aliens continued to move closer, their massive forms gliding through the void with unnatural silence. Their ships gave off strange signals waves that disrupted human senses, making them flicker and go blind. Entire radar networks failed, leaving operators staring at blank screens as the shadows drew nearer. Then finally, after days of waiting, the aliens spoke, not with words, but with an image. Every human screen across Earth and its colonies turned black before a single symbol appeared. It was a jagged circle of fire surrounding a single unblinking eye. A voice followed, deep and inhuman, echoing across every device, as though it came from the bones of the earth itself. Kneel or be erased. That was all. The message repeated 3 times before vanishing, leaving only silence. People screamed, cried and prayed. Some wanted to surrender. Others demanded war. In the control chambers of the Defender fleet, there was no debate. The message was clear. Humanity had been given a choice: extinction or submission. Neither was acceptable. Admiral Chen's voice rang across every channel: prepare for contact. The fleet spread out in defensive formation around, the Earth shining like silver arrows against the black of space. Crew members strapped themselves in, engineers fed power to the weapons gunners, locked their sights on distant shadows. Every heartbeat echoed with dread. The first battle in human history against an alien race was about to begin, but the aliens did not open fire. Instead, their largest ship advanced past the orbit of Neptune, moving slowly as if testing the humans. It released small drones, metallic spheres that darted forward. At impossible speed, they raced past satellites, destroying them with beams of light before vanishing again like ghosts. It was a demonstration of power. Humanity's eyes were being taken away one by one. In the dark command centers, tension turned. To fear, generals demanded a response. Should they strike first? Should they show that humanity was not weak? But Chen hesitated. He knew that if humans fired first, the galaxy might judge them as aggressors. Still, if they waited too long, Earth might not survive the first alien strike. The alien fleet began to shift once more, forming a line so vast it stretched across the planet's entire tactical display. The sight stole the breath of every human officer watching. The enemy was preparing for something, but no one could guess what. Then came the sound. A low hum that shook the hulls of human warships like a heartbeat, growing louder and louder. The aliens were charging something unseen. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as blue light pulsed across their hulls, spreading like veins of fire. Humans had never seen such energy before, and it terrified them. On Earth, billions watched through shaky camera feeds broadcast from orbit. Children clutched their parents, soldiers kissed the crosses on their chests. Entire cities fell silent, waiting for death or salvation. Humanity had dreamed of contact, but in that moment every man, woman and child wished only for survival. And then the hum stopped. For one endless second, nothing happened. The aliens hung in space, silent and still. The Defender fleet held their breath. Even Admiral Chen could hear the blood pounding in his ears. The silence shattered with a single command from the alien mothership, a word that no human understood yet. Every human felt it was a command to attack. The first alien drones streaked forward, their lights cutting through space like spears. The humans had no choice now. For the first time in history, the warships of Earth fired upon an enemy not of this world. The void lit up with fire and metal as humanity screamed its defiance into the stars. The galaxy had awoken, and it was watching. The smoke of battle still drifted through space, though there was no air to carry it. Wreckage spun silently between. The stars shattered, drones glowing faintly as their cores lost power. Humanity had survived the first clash, but everyone knew it was only the beginning. On Earth, people gathered around screens, desperate for news. The government spoke of courage and strength, telling the world that humanity had stood firm against the invaders. Yet in the quiet corners of homes and hospitals, whispers spread. The aliens had barely fought at all. They had only tested the humans like a hand pushing against a door to see if it would open. And everyone knew the real storm was still coming. In the command chamber of the flagship, resolute Admiral Chen leaned over the tactical table. His officers were pale, their voices clipped with exhaustion. Reports streamed. The Defender fleet had taken damage, but losses were light compared to what they had feared. Some satellites were gone, some stations crippled, but Earth still stood. The problem was the enemy ships had not retreated. They were still there, like hunters circling prey, waiting for the right moment to strike. Chen rubbed his eyes, then turned to his communications officer. "Any word from them?" "Nothing, sir. Only static or symbols. The same emblem, the eye within the circle." Then, as if the enemy had been listening, every human screen lit up once more. The same burning eye appeared across Earth's devices, televisions, tablets, holoscreens, even the simplest radios carried the sound. A voice rolled out deep and cold, reverberating as if spoken by 1,000 throats together, humanity. The voice said, "You are dangerous. You expand, you fight, you consume. You will kneel before the Dominion, or you will be erased." The words sank into the hearts of billions. No offer of peace, no chance for dialogue. Only submission or death on the floor of the United Nations chamber. Chaos erupted. Ambassadors shouted over one another. Some cried for surrender, arguing that Earth could not possibly withstand the might of such a fleet. Others demanded total resistance, their voices shaking with fury. No human leader wanted to be the one remembered for kneeling, but no one wanted to be blamed for ending the species either. At last silence fell when Admiral Chen himself was patched into the chamber. His face was grim, his uniform streaked with the ash of battle. "I have looked into their eyes," he said flatly. "There is no peace to be had with them. They came here not to speak, but to conquer. If we surrender, they will strip us of our world. If we resist, we may fall, but at least we will fall standing." His words carried across the world, broadcast into homes and shelters. Humanity heard not a speech of comfort, but a declaration of grim truth. The choice was no longer survival at any cost. It was freedom or slavery. In the hours that followed, the Defender fleet worked without rest. Engineers patched hulls, crews reloaded weapons, medics treated the wounded. Every man and woman aboard those ships knew they were staring at their own graves, yet they labored with fierce determination, because if they failed, Earth would not live to see another sunrise. Then it happened again. Without warning, the alien fleet shifted their formations. Massive cruisers detached from the main line, advancing toward Earth. The tactical displays painted them as Titans glowing with power. Their weapons hummed with light. The Dominion had chosen war on the ground. Families fled into shelters buried deep beneath cities. Soldiers filled bunkers. Anti-orbital cannons prepared to fire. Humanity had built defenses, but never truly believed they would need them. Now they prayed those defenses would hold. In orbit, the first alien drones swept forward faster than bullets. Their beams sliced through the darkness, striking human satellites. One by one, Earth's eyes went blind. The crews aboard the Defender fleet cursed as their sensors flickered. Admiral Chen slammed his fist against the table. "Launch interceptors. Keep them away from the fleet." Tiny human craft darted out of the warships, agile and fast. They fired missiles and railgun bursts, ripping apart drones in sprays of metal and fire. But for every drone destroyed, another two took its place. The enemy seemed endless. Then came the first real strike. An alien cruiser fired a beam so bright it burned across the void like a scar. It struck a defense platform above the moon. The structure exploded into fragments, the shockwave hurling debris into space. Millions on Earth watched helplessly as the explosion lit up the night sky, a glowing wound above. Their world fear rippled across humanity, but it did not break them. Instead, something else ignited: anger. Across every city, people raised their fists at the sky, swearing that Earth would never kneel. The Dominion might have thought fear would weaken. Humanity, instead, it had only sharpened their resolve. On the Resolute, Chen gave the order, "Return fire." The Defender fleet unleashed its fury. Railguns thundered, hurling slugs of metal at impossible speeds. Missiles streaked like falling stars. Plasma lances cut across the void. For the first time in history, humanity's weapons were tested not against themselves, but against something truly alien. The results stunned everyone. One of the alien cruisers shuddered as its shields cracked under the barrage. Flames erupted from its hull as missiles tore through its armor. For a brief, glorious moment, humanity saw that the enemy was not invincible. The Dominion ships bled like any other. Cheers erupted across the fleet, across Earth, even across the hidden colonies scattered among the stars. The people of humanity felt hope for the first time since the countdown began. But the hope was short-lived. The wounded alien cruiser did not retreat. Instead, it sent out a signal, and from the darkness, beyond Neptune, new shapes emerged. Larger, more terrifying than those before dreadnoughts, their spines glowing with burning energy. Their arrival dwarfed even the massive warships already in orbit. Humanity's hope wavered as the stars filled with more and more enemy vessels. The Dominion was not here to test humanity. They were here to crush it completely. Admiral Chen stood at the heart of the storm, staring at the impossible sight. He knew the fleet could not hold against such numbers yet. He also knew retreat was no option. Every soul on Earth was counting on them to stand their ground. And so he gave the only order that mattered: hold the line. The battle that followed shook the solar system. The alien dreadnoughts fired beams that carved through asteroids, splitting them like glass. Human warships dodged and weaved, striking with every weapon they had. Entire crews were lost as ships were ripped apart. Yet still the survivors fought on. Meanwhile, on Earth, leaders gathered once. More desperate to plan, the message from the Dominion still echoed in their minds: kneel or be erased. And though many feared the end was near, none dared to speak the word. Surrender. Humanity's blood was up, and once lit, it could not be cooled in. Secret bunkers, scientists worked on hidden projects, desperate to give the defenders an edge. Weapons, untested prototypes long considered too dangerous, were dragged from storage. If the Dominion wanted to erase humanity, they would learn what desperation it could create. Back in orbit, the enemy pressed harder. The Dominion seemed endless, wave after wave, hammering against the fleet. But in the heart of that chaos, something strange was happening. Signals flickered not from the Dominion, but from somewhere else, far beyond the battlefield, hidden in the shadows. Another transmission was being received, a whisper not from Earth, not from the Dominion, but from an unknown source on the Resolute. The communications officer paled. "Sir, we are picking up something." "It's not them," Chen frowned. "Who then? I don't know, sir, but they are watching us." The thought sent a chill through the room. Humanity had feared being alone. Now they feared being surrounded. Who else was out there, and what did they want? But there was no time to wonder. Another Dominion strike slammed into a human cruiser, tearing it apart. Screams echoing through the comm before the line went dead. The fleet was breaking one ship at a time. Still the humans did not yield. Their weapons roared. Their ships burned, bright defiance written in every shot fired. Humanity would not kneel. They would not bow. Even if the galaxy itself trembled, they would fight until the last. And far away, hidden in the darkness, unseen eyes continued to watch. The humans had chosen defiance, and the galaxy was listening. Space burned with light and death. Human eyes across Earth, and the colonies stared at their screens and saw a war unlike any battle in their history. The alien fleet had come in force there. Drones cutting through the void like a swarm of knives. Their dreadnoughts moved like mountains, given wings, and their weapons tore across the black skies. Humanity had answered with fire and fury, and for the first time in history, the stars shook. From human guns, on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, Admiral Chen stood silent. His hands gripped the rail, his jaw tight. Every screen around him showed chaos, ships breaking apart, plasma cutting through hulls, missiles blazing forward like falling. Stars' orders shouted back and forth. Weapons fire everything human hands could give. The enemy pressed closer, yet somehow humanity still stood. The alien drones swept toward Earth faster than bullets. Their beams cracked open defense platforms and tore holes through orbital stations. Each loss lit the sky above Earth like burning lanterns. Families hiding in bunkers on the ground screamed as explosions streaked across the night. Humanity could see their world bleeding above them. Yet the defenders did not stop. The crews of the warships knew there was no retreat and no surrender. Every gun fired, every missile launched. Humanity poured its rage into the void. Then it happened. The cruiser Iron Will locked its railguns on a Zorith ship, the Alien. Craft loomed like a fortress, its shields glowing like liquid fire. Iron Will fired once, twice, a third time. The rounds slammed into the shield. The alien barrier rippled, then cracked like glass on the fourth strike. Missiles followed, streaking from Iron Will's launchers. They slammed home, and the alien cruiser erupted in a silent fireball, the first kill. Humanity had destroyed one of the Dominion's warships. A cheer burst across the Defender fleet, across every bunker, across every home. Humanity had drawn blood at last. The Invincible had been wounded. The galaxy would know that humans could fight him. But the celebration was short. The aliens answered at once. Their dreadnoughts turned their weapons on Iron Will, and beams of blue energy stabbed. Through the void. The cruiser never had a chance. In seconds it was gone, vaporized in a burst of light. The cheer turned into silence, then rage, then grief. Humanity had won and lost in the same breath. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the despair. "Hold the line. No one retreats, we fight for Earth." The battle raged hotter. The aliens pressed closer with no sign of fear or hesitation. Human ships spun and dodged, firing every weapon they had. Missiles streaked across the void like angry comets. Railguns tore holes through alien drones. Plasma lances burned bright lines in the darkness. Still, the Zorith came still. Their weapons glowed still. Their ships moved with perfect precision. On Earth, people prayed in shelters. Soldiers manned there. Ground weapons, cannons pointed skyward, waiting for the battle to drop closer to the atmosphere. The voice of the Dominion still rang in their minds: kneel or be erased. And every man, woman, and child whispered the same answer: we will not kneel back. In orbit, the Defender fleet launched a desperate move. Admiral Chen ordered the warship Resolute and her escorts forward. They would punch into the alien line, drive through their cruisers, and try to break the formation. If they failed, Earth would burn. The Resolute roared ahead, its engines glowing bright. Missiles spilled from its bays, a storm of fire. Railguns hammered with a rhythm like thunder. Plasma cut through the Black One. Alien cruiser turned to block the charge, but the Resolute's guns tore into it, round after round, ripping its hull to pieces. Another ship followed the humans, the Valor, and together they plunged into the lines, smashing through the drones and shattering their tight formation. For a heartbeat, the humans had hope. Then the Dreadnought appeared. It was larger than any ship humanity had ever built. Its shadow blotted out the stars its spine pulsed with. Light and its weapons burned with energy. The Dreadnought turned and fired a single shot. The blast ripped past the Resolute, grazing its hull. The entire ship shuddered, alarm screaming across every deck. But the flagship Helchen's voice rang. Across the comm, all ships focus fire on that Dreadnought. We cannot let it reach Earth. The humans obeyed. Missiles, railgun rounds, plasma, all of it slammed into the alien beast. The shields flickered under the barrage, and for a moment it seemed the impossible might happen. Humanity might break a Dreadnought, but the Zorith were not finished. The Dreadnought pulsed again, and this time 2 beams fired. One struck a smaller destroyer, the Hope's Light. The ship split apart, its crew gone in an instant. The other beam lanced through space, barely missing the Resolute. The blast was so close, it ripped off armor and tore open the hull. Hundreds of crew were gone, sucked into the cold void. The Resolute staggered, yet still, it fought everywhere across. The fleet, similar scenes played out. Human ships burned, human lives ended, but still they fought and still they bled the enemy. Drones exploded, cruisers cracked under fire. Humanity proved again and again they would not kneel. Then something changed. Signals rippled through the human network, not from Earth, not from their ships, but from somewhere deeper, far beyond the fight. Strange pulses at odd intervals, unfamiliar but deliberate. Someone else was out there watching, on the Resolute, the comm. Officer shouted, "Admiral, another signal. It's not Zorith." Chen's eyes narrowed. "Who is it? Unknown, sir." "But they're close, they're here." The thought sent fear through the bridge. The Zorith were monsters already, but what if more eyes, more enemies? Circled in the dark, the galaxy was not empty. It was listening, and it was judging. Humanity's stand would not be forgotten. Back in the battle, the humans pressed harder. The Valor broke through a line of drones, sacrificing itself to smash into an alien cruiser. Both ships exploded in a cloud of fire and fragments. The blast cleared a hole in the line, letting other human ships push forward. Each sacrifice brought one more chance, one more second of survival. And then came the moment that would be told across the stars. The Resolute, with her hull burning and her crew bleeding, lined up her railguns on the dreadnought. Chen's voice was calm. Fire, the guns roared, the slugs ripped across the void and slammed into the dreadnought's shield. Again and again, until the barrier rippled like water. Missiles followed. Plasma burned bright. For one impossible second, the dreadnought's shield cracked. A piece of its armor tore away, exposing its core, the first dreadnought wound in the war. Humanity roared with hope, even as ships died, even as lives were lost. The proof was there. The enemy was not gods. They were not unbreakable. They could bleed. The dreadnought reeled, but did not fall. Its weapons glowed brighter. Its engines pulsed. The Dominion was angry now. And when the Dominion was angry, worlds burned. Earth's defenders braced for the next wave. They knew it would come. They knew it would be worse than anything before. Yet none turned away. None retreated. The fleet closed ranks, battered. Ships covering each other, bleeding together. Humanity would not surrender. Humanity would not kneel. Humanity would stand. And across the galaxy, far beyond the reach of Earth, hidden civilizations whispered. They watched the humans defy the Dominion. They saw the fire in their resistance, and they trembled, because for the first time in ages, someone had stood against the Zorith and survived. The battle raged on the void, filled with wreckage and flame. Humanity clung to survival by blood and courage. The dreadnought loomed above like a shadow of death. But the humans faced it with unbroken eyes. The galaxy had seen the first clash between humans and the Zorith Dominion, and the galaxy would never be the same. The battle had raged for hours, and the void around Earth was filled with wreckage. Broken drones floated lifelessly, their twisted frames still glowing faintly with the last traces of alien power. Human ships drifted with torn hulls and fire spilling from their wounds. The Defender fleet had held against the first waves, but no one believed the worst was over. The Zorith Dominion had not come for testing or for warning. They had come for destruction. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Chen stood silent. His crew worked in near darkness as power was rerouted to keep the weapons alive. Every face was pale but steady. They had seen death up close, and they knew more was coming, but not one man or woman turned away. The screens lit with warnings as more alien ships moved into position. Their dreadnoughts pulsed with energy, building to something greater than before. Chen's stomach sank. He could feel it in his bones. This was no ordinary strike. The enemy was preparing something terrible. Across Earth, the people waited. In shelters, staring at the sky above them, explosions still glimmered like falling stars. Some believed the battle was already won. Others whispered the truth. Humanity had only survived the first moves of a game it did not understand, and now the Dominion was about to show them the next. On the dark side of the moon, soldiers inside a defense bunker felt the ground rumble under their feet. They looked at each other, confused at first, then terrified. The moon should have been silent, but it trembled. As if struck by thunder, one soldier ran to the window. He froze. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Across the horizon, the stars shifted. A beam of blue light lanced through the void and slammed into the lunar surface. The world shook on Earth. Billions saw it live. The Dominion dreadnought had fired a weapon unlike anything humanity had imagined. A lance of pure energy struck the moon's crust with the force of a planet killer. The ground cracked open, glowing lines spreading like fire. The surface shattered under the strain. Dust and rock exploded into space. Clouds of debris shot outward, scattering across orbit like a deadly storm. Humanity's first satellite home, their first step into the stars, was breaking apart before there. As the screams across Earth drowned out every broadcast, people cried out in terror. Families held each other as the image of the wounded moon filled every screen. The craters glowed as if molten from within, pieces of the lunar surface ripped away. Drifting into space toward Earth, the night sky would never look the same again. Humanity had thought of the moon as eternal, but now it bled. Inside the United Nations chamber, silence hung like a shroud. No one spoke. Some leaders wept, some clenched, their fists in rage. The message was clear. The Dominion did not want only submission. They wanted humanity to know their power. They wanted to show that no world, no satellite, no safe place could stand against them. Admiral Chen's voice cut through. The comm grim and steady. The moon was not the target Earth is. They wanted to show us what their weapon can do, and next time they will not fire at rock. They will fire at us. His words rippled like a shockwave across the fleet. Crews looked to their captains. Captains looked to their admirals. They knew Chen was right. Humanity was standing at the edge of extinction. Unless they stopped the Dominion's planet-killer weapon, Earth itself would crack just as the moon had on the Resolute, the tactical. Officer shouted, "Sir, their dreadnought is charging again." Chen's eyes narrowed. Direction, not Earth, sir. Something deeper. Mars orbit, maybe. Or one of the colonies. Chen's heart tightened. He knew what that meant. The aliens were not just attacking Earth. They were sending a message to every human world across the stars. Nowhere was safe. Across the fleet, orders rang out. Move, intercept, prepare the counterstrike. Humanity had no choice but to gamble. They would throw everything they had at the dreadnought before it could fire again. Crews scrambled engineers, rerouted power into weapons and shields. Gunners set their sights on the glowing core of the alien behemoth. The dreadnought pulsed brighter. Its spine glowed with burning veins of blue energy. Each pulse sent ripples across the void. The humans could feel the vibration even within their ships. It was as if the galaxy itself shuddered, waiting for the blow. The Dominion weapon was not just powerful, it was godlike. The first human strike began. Warships fired their railguns in unison, a storm of slugs slamming against the dreadnought's shields. Missiles followed their trails, blazing like 1,000 falling stars. The shield flared, rippled, and for a moment wavered. Hope flickered across every human heart. Then the light steadied, the shield held. The dreadnought remained untouched. The enemy fired back. Drones streaked forward, beams slicing through human formations. Ships died, one by one. The destroyer Gallant erupted in a cloud, a flame. The cruiser Horizon lost half its hull, spinning helplessly into the void. Even as they burned, the human ships fought on. They knew retreat meant death for everyone behind them. Then a warning sounded through the Resolute. The dreadnought is aligning. for Earth. Admiral Chen looked up at the glowing monster and felt ice in his veins. They were out of time. On Earth, the people saw the moon fracture further. Clouds of debris showered across the night like endless meteors, some pieces burned. In the atmosphere, raining fire across deserts and oceans. The world itself seemed to cry out as shock waves rippled across the tides. Humanity had built their first step to the stars on that moon. Now it lay shattered, a reminder of their weakness in. Bunker's mothers held children and whispered promises. They did not believe. Fathers gripped weapons, even though they could not fight the void. Priests whispered prayers. Scientists scribbled frantic equations, hoping for a miracle. No one could look. Away, the dreadnought loomed in the sky, like a god of death, preparing to end them. Back in orbit, Admiral Chen gave the only order left. All ships form on the resolute target. That weapon core, full power, no reserves. The Defender fleet obeyed. Every ship alive shifted position, engines burning bright. They formed a line before Earth, every barrel pointed at the glowing dreadnought. Their crews knew many would not return, but they did not falter. The Dominion had shattered their moon, threatened their world, and mocked their courage. Humanity would answer with fire. The sky exploded. Railguns thundered, missiles filled the void. Plasma burned white and blue. The human fleet poured everything into the dreadnought. The alien shields rippled again, cracks forming across their surface. The monster groaned as if alive. Its glowing veins flickered. Humanity pushed harder. They would not stop. They would burn their last breath if it meant saving their world. The dreadnought shuddered. A section of its armor tore away, exposing a glimpse of its inner core, a bright sphere pulsing with energy, the size of a city. The sight sent shivers down every spine. It was a sun, trapped inside metal, a weapon meant to end worlds. Humanity had never seen such power. Then the dreadnought roared. Its shields pulsed outward like a wave, smashing into the fleet. Ships tumbled, scattering through the void. Several were torn apart instantly. The cruiser Stalwart split into 3 pieces. Fire pouring from its hull, the destroyer Lance was thrown into debris and ripped open like paper. Still the humans kept firing still. They hurled everything at the beast. On Earth, people watched the battle through trembling broadcasts. Some cried, some screamed, some pounded their fists against the ground, shouting for the ships to hold on. Entire cities roared with voices begging their defenders not to give up. The sound of humanity itself rose like thunder across the planet. At the height of the chaos, a new signal flickered into the resolute systems. Not Zorith, not human. A whisper from the dark once more, unknown code symbols flashing across the screen. Chen stared at it, his mind racing, another player in the shadows watching, waiting. The galaxy was not silent, the galaxy was crowded, and now Earth was at the center of every eye, but there was no time to decode. The dreadnought pulsed brighter, its weapon ready to fire one more blast. The moon had been the warning, now Earth was the target. Humanity had only moments left. Chen shouted into the comm. All ships, final assault. Strike the core now, or we are finished. The last storm began. Every remaining ship in the Defender fleet opened fire. Missiles, streaked railguns, hammered plasma, flared bright as suns. The dreadnought's shields cracked, pieces shattered and fell away. Its armor peeled back under the relentless storm. Humanity screamed its fury into the stars, and for the first time since the battle began, the impossible happened. The core flickered, the weapon dimmed, the Dominion dreadnought staggered, drifting back, its weapon silenced for now. The humans had not destroyed it, but they had wounded it. They had stopped the shot that would have ended their world. Across Earth, cheers and cries echoed through shelters and cities. For the first time since the countdown, humanity felt hope again. The moon was broken, the fleet was bleeding, but Earth was still alive. Admiral Chen looked at the flickering dreadnought with cold eyes. He knew this was not victory. The Dominion had been slowed, but not stopped. They would return with more ships, more weapons, more fury. Humanity had bought time, but not safety. And somewhere in the dark, the mysterious signal whispered again. Someone was watching. Someone else had seen humanity defy the Dominion. Someone who had not yet revealed if they were friend or foe. The battle was far from over. The galaxy was only beginning to tremble. Wreckage drifted across the black skies, broken frames, of drones glowing faintly with dying sparks. Human ships floated nearby, scarred and battered engines flickering but still alive. The moon lay wounded behind them, glowing cracks still visible across its fractured surface. The Dominion, dreadnought, had pulled back its core dim. After the last desperate strike, humanity had survived again, but everyone knew it was not the end. Only a pause, only silence before the next storm. On Earth the people clung to hope. Crowds filled the streets shouting. Defiant cities shook with cheers when word spread that the fleet had held. Mothers hugged children tighter. Fathers whispered that humanity would never kneel, yet under the celebration ran a current of fear. Every man and woman knew the truth. The Dominion had not retreated. They had only stepped back to strike harder later, and when they came again, Earth might not survive. Inside the command bridge of the resolute Admiral, Chen stared at the tactical screen. His officers moved quietly around, him exhaustion heavy on every face. They had lost too many ships, too many lives, but the fleet was not broken. Chen's voice was steady as he spoke to his crew. We have shown them. We will not fall. We have shown them. We can fight. And now, the whole galaxy knows it. The comm officer stiffened. So we are still receiving that unknown signal. It is not Dominion. The symbols keep repeating. Chen frowned. Show me. Across the screen, strange shapes and pulses appeared, lines forming symbols that no human language could explain. The code looped again and again, as if someone far away was whispering in the dark, trying to be heard. It was not the jagged eye of the Dominion. It was something else, something hidden. Chen leaned forward. His gut told him the truth. Whoever was sending this had been watching the entire battle. They had seen the moon shatter. They had seen the dreadnought wounded. And now they were speaking, not to the Dominion, but to humanity. A thought rippled across the bridge. If someone else was out there, what did they want? Were they allies? Were they enemies waiting for both sides to weaken before striking? Humanity had never been more vulnerable and never more exposed. The whisper grew stronger. A coded pulse reached across every. Human ship screens flickered, lights dimmed. Then words appeared at last, translated by the resolute systems. We are watching you. Silence fell across the bridge. No one moved. No one breathed. Chen's heart pounded. He forced his voice to stay calm. Reply to them. Ask who they are. The comm officer tapped furiously into the console. The message went out, carried on a tight beam across the void. Seconds dragged into minutes. No answer. Then the whisper returned. We have seen your defiance. We have seen your courage. You are not like the others. The words spread quickly across the fleet and down to Earth within hours. Everyone knew humanity was not alone with the Dominion. Another race, another people were watching. The question burned in every heart. Friend or foe on the far side of Neptune, the answer began to reveal itself. Hidden among the shadows of the outer system, a ship decloaked. A vessel unlike any humanity had seen. Sleek, curved, glowing faintly with pale silver light. Its shape was organic, more like a living creature than a machine. It drifted forward, slow, deliberate, as if to show it was not an enemy. On the resolute alarms blared as sensors locked onto the new arrival. Weapons crews scrambled, but Chen raised his hand. Hold. Fire, wait. The strange vessel stopped at the edge of the battlefield. Then its hull pulsed with light, and a voice filled the comm. Clear now, not broken, not cold like the Dominion. It was softer, quieter, yet filled with age and sorrow. We are the Kareni. We were once of the Dominion. We are no longer gasps spread across the bridge. Chen narrowed his eyes. Former Dominion. If it was true, then the Kareni knew the enemy better than anyone, and if it was false, then humanity was staring at a knife hidden behind a smile. The Kareni spoke again. You fight as we once fought, you burn bright, you do not kneel. The Dominion fears this, they will come again in greater number. If you stand alone, you will fall, but if you stand with us, you may survive. Chen said nothing for a long time. His officers whispered behind him. Some begged to trust the new arrival. Others warned it was a trap. Finally, Chen spoke to the comm. Prove yourselves. Prove you are not our enemy. The Kareni ship pulsed once more. Then, from the darkness, 3 Dominion cruisers moved forward, preparing to strike. The dreadnought was still wounded, but its escorts had not retreated. They advanced toward Earth, weapons glowing. The Kareni voice whispered, "Watch." Their silver ship glided. Forward beams of pure white light flashing across the void. It cut through one Dominion cruiser with surgical precision. Shields flared, cracked, shattered. The massive ship split in 2, drifting apart. In silence, humanity stared wide-eyed. The Kareni had just destroyed a Dominion warship with ease. The other 2 cruisers turned on the silver vessel. Weapons burned blue. But the Kareni moved like flowing water, dodging fire, slipping between beams. It fired again, and another Dominion ship was crippled, drifting helplessly. The last cruiser fled back toward the dreadnought. Across the Resolute, cheers erupted. Humanity had seen power equal to the Dominion, and it was not turned against them. It was turned with them. On Earth, the news spread like wildfire. The Kareni exiles, as they named themselves, had revealed their hand. Crowds shouted in joy that humanity had found allies, but not everyone trusted. The Dominion had lied with strength and fire. What if the Kareni lied with soft words? What if this was another trap waiting for Earth to drop? Its guard Admiral Chen gave orders to keep weapons armed, but he did not turn the Kareni away. Instead, he opened a channel. Speak then, tell us why you help us. The voice of the Kareni was heavy with sorrow. We were once as you are, defiant, brave, unwilling to kneel. The Dominion crushed our worlds, burned our stars. Those of us who survived fled into the shadows. We have waited centuries for another who would rise against them now. We see you, and we will not let you fall alone. Their words rang true to many. They carried pain that could not be faked. Yet doubt remained. Humanity had just learned that the galaxy was not empty, and now it was filled with enemies and strangers. The wrong choice could mean extinction in the days that followed. Earth prepared for the next strike. The moon, still cracked, loomed above them, a reminder of the Dominion's power. The Defender fleet licked its wounds, crews working without sleep to patch holes, reload weapons, and bury their dead. The Kareni ship drifted among them silent, except when it sent whispers of advice, guidance on Dominion. Tactics, warnings of their weapons. Even Chen could not deny their knowledge, saved lives. But deep inside his heart he wondered why now. Why reveal themselves only when humanity stood at the edge? Why wait until the Dominion had already shattered a moon? He feared there was a reason the Kareni had not spoken sooner, and that reason might one day demand a price. Still, the war was not waiting. The Dominion dreadnought remained near Neptune, silent, but glowing brighter with every passing hour. New signals hinted that reinforcements were on the way. The Zorith Dominion would not accept this resistance. They would return with more ships, more weapons, more death. Admiral Chen knew humanity's greatest trial was yet to come. He stood on the day bridge of the Resolute, staring into the dark where the dreadnought loomed. He thought of the Kareni ship glowing softly at his side. He thought of Earth below, scarred but unbroken. He thought of the words of the Dominion kneel or be erased. And he whispered to himself, "We will not kneel far across the stars." Hidden civilizations listened to the whispers of the battle. They had seen the moon shatter. They had seen the humans bleed. They had seen them stand with fire in their eyes. And now they saw something far more dangerous. Humanity was not alone anymore. They had allies. And that truth made the galaxy tremble. Darkness pressed across the system like a tide. The Dominion dreadnought still hung beyond Neptune, its weapons glowing faintly. As if gathering strength around it, swarmed smaller escorts, drones, cruisers and carriers, all preparing for the next strike. The Kareni ship floated nearby, pale silver light flowing across its curved hull. Its presence was both hope and danger. Humanity now had an ally, but no one truly knew if the ally could be trusted. On Earth, the world moved with restless energy. Cities buzzed with preparation. Families stocked bunkers. Soldiers trained in the streets. Cannons and railguns were rolled into position, pointing skyward. Even children whispered to each other of the moon that cracked above them and the great enemy that had promised their end. Every human knew the next strike would decide everything. Inside the war room beneath the surface of Earth, the leaders of humanity gathered. The screen at the center showed Admiral Chen aboard the Resolute, scarred from battle but still standing. His voice was steady. "We have days at most before the Dominion strikes again. The dreadnought is charging. Its escorts grow stronger. They mean to crush us in one blow." Beside him on another feed hovered the image of the Kareni. Their form was strange, tall and thin with flowing patterns of light across their skin. Their voice was calm yet filled with the weight of ages. "You cannot stand alone. If you wish to survive, you must trust us." The room erupted. Some leaders shouted to accept the Kareni. Help others shouted just as fiercely that it was a trap. They remembered how the Dominion had promised order before burning worlds. Why should these exiles be any different? Chen silenced them with a single word. Enough. His eyes locked on the image of the Kareni. "You say you were once Dominion. Tell us what we face. Tell us how to kill that dreadnought." The Kareni paused, then their light shifted brighter. "The dreadnought is not invincible. Its shields feed from a core at its center. Strike the core and the ship will die. But the core is hidden deep within. It cannot be reached with weapons from the outside. The only way is to get inside." The room went silent. The thought was madness. To enter a Dominion dreadnought was suicide. But as the words settled into their minds, another thought burned brighter. It was possible. On the Resolute, Chen clenched his fists. His crew looked at him with wide eyes. They had fought wave after wave, yet the dreadnought had always seemed beyond reach. Now a plan lay before them, insane but real. He said softly, "Then we must find a way to enter." The Kareni inclined. "Oh, their head, we can guide you, but if you do this, you must understand. The Dominion will never forgive. They will hunt you forever." Chen's answer came without hesitation, "We will never kneel." Preparations began at once. The Kareni shared schematics, stolen long ago, showing weak points in the dreadnought's hull, places where docking could be forced if timed with precision. Humanity's best soldiers were chosen for the mission. Volunteers, all of them. They knew the odds. They knew the price. And still they stepped forward. Among them was Commander Elias Kane, a soldier whose ship had been destroyed in the first battle. He had watched friends die in fire and silence. He carried their memory like armor. He stood before Admiral Chen and said, "I will lead the strike team." Chen studied him a long moment, then nodded, "Bring us victory." Kane, the days passed quickly. Repairs finished. weapons reloaded, ammunition stacked, railguns and missiles readied for the storm. Above Earth, the Defender fleet gathered, scarred ships shining with determination. Beside them drifted the lone silver ship of the Careni, a symbol that humanity was not alone in this fight. At last, the Dominion moved, the dreadnought lit with power brighter than ever before. Its escorts surged forward, drones spilling like locusts across the dark Earth's defenses, flared to life. Cannons fired, missiles streaked upward. The void burned again with war. The battle began fiercer than any before. Human ships met the drones, head-on tearing them apart. But paying with blood and fire, explosions lit the skies. Wreckage fell into the atmosphere, streaking as burning meteors. Civilians on Earth looked upward and saw their defenders bleed for them. Amid the chaos, the strike. Team prepared Commander Kane aboard a stealth shuttle. The Valiant sat with his squad armored in black. Each man and woman carried rail rifles and charges powerful enough to shatter a fortress. They were silent, their faces set. They knew most would not return. The shuttle launched, hidden behind a storm of missiles, weaving through the chaos of battle, guided by the Careni. The silver ship moved beside them, drawing Dominion fire with dazzling maneuvers. Its weapons cut swathes through drones, leaving a path clear. The Valiant slipped closer and closer to the dreadnought, its shadow swallowing them like a mountain. On the resolute, Chen watched every second. His voice echoed across the fleet. Cover them, protect them at all costs, every gun. Fire! Human ships turned their weapons on the dreadnought's escorts. Missiles flared beams, cracked shields. Railguns slammed into alien hulls. The Dominion roared back with fury. Ships exploded one after another. But through the inferno, the small shuttle pressed forward unseen. The dreadnought loomed larger each moment. Its hull glowed with alien energy, vast markings across its surface shifting like living scars. The shuttle shuddered as its hull scraped against Dominion shields. Sparks flared. Alarms screamed, but the Careni voice whispered, "Steady strike now. The barrier is weak," Kane shouted. "Charges ready." The squad moved fast, planting devices on the shuttle's nose. A blast shook the air. The Dominion shield rippled, then cracked open, just wide enough. The shuttle surged forward, slamming into the dreadnought's surface with a thunderous impact. Docking clamps locked. They were inside. The doors burst open. Kane's team stormed into the alien corridors. The walls glowed faint blue. The air heavy with strange sound. The halls were vast, curved, like veins in a living beast. The Dominion had built their ship like a nightmare of flesh, and machine drones rushed to intercept, glowing eyes flashing. Weapons fire filled the corridor. Rail rifles barked, energy beams cut the air. Soldiers fell, but the team pushed forward step by step. Their mission burned brighter than their fear. Reach the core, destroy it, end the dreadnought. Back outside, the battle raged worse than ever. The Resolute fought like a wounded lion. Its guns blazed, missiles streaked, railguns roared. Yet the Dominion closed in. More cruisers pressed forward, more drones swarmed. The dreadnought itself turned its weapons on the Defender fleet, and beams of searing blue energy ripped through human ships. Dozens were gone in seconds. Still the fleet held. Still they bled for the mission inside the dreadnought. Kane led his squad deeper. Alien screams echoed around them. The walls pulsed with light as if the ship itself was alive. The Careni voice whispered in their comms, "Left turn then down the chamber, the core lies below." They fought through a hall filled with towering machines. Each machine spat fire, drones spilling forth in endless waves. The soldiers threw grenades, the blasts tearing the chamber apart. The floor shook, the walls cracked. Still they pressed forward, leaving behind the bodies of their friends. Each death another step closer to the core. At last they reached it. A chamber vast as a city heart. A sphere of burning energy pulsed at the center, glowing brighter than a sun. Streams of power ran from it into every wall, every weapon, every shield. This was the dreadnought's soul. Kane stood staring for one heartbeat. then raised his voice. Charges. Set around him, his squad moved, planting explosives on the conduits on the base, on every point they could reach. Their hands shook with exhaustion and blood, but they worked fast. The Dominion had seen them now. From every tunnel drones poured in a flood of metal and light. Kane fired until his rifle clicked empty, then drew his blade. Soldiers screamed in rage and pain, but none stopped planting charges. One by one they fell until only a handful stood, but the task was nearly done. At last, the explosives armed Kane's hand hovered over the trigger. He stared at the burning core. He thought of Earth, of the cracked moon, of the voices that had promised kneel or be erased. And he whispered back, "We will never kneel." He pressed the trigger. The chamber exploded. Light brighter than the sun ripped through the halls. The core screamed its energy, tearing itself apart. The dreadnought shuddered outside, weapons, flickering shields dying, its massive form split open across space, burning. And from within, on the Resolute, cheers erupted. The dreadnought was dying. The Dominion had been wounded deeper than ever before, but Admiral Chen did not cheer. His eyes were locked on the screen. The shuttle Valiant was gone. Kane's team was gone. There, lives given for this moment, the dreadnought began to collapse, torn by fire, its core unraveling. But as it fell, its final act began. A last signal sent across the void, pulsing through every channel, words carved into the minds of all who heard humans. "You will burn." Then silence. The dreadnought shattered into a storm of wreckage. Pieces of the greatest weapon the Dominion had ever built drifted like bones across Neptune. Humanity had done the impossible. They had slain a dreadnought on Earth people. Poured from shelters, cheering, crying, embracing across the fleet. Men and women screamed in triumph. Humanity had struck the Dominion like no one before. The galaxy had seen, and the galaxy trembled. But Admiral Chen's face remained hard. He looked at the silver ship of the Kareni drifting beside them, silent, watching. He looked at the broken fleet, scarred but alive. He looked at the wreck of the dreadnought burning into nothing, and in his heart he knew the war was not won. It had only begun. And the Dominion would come again with fury beyond imagination. The wreckage of the Dominion dreadnought still drifted across the orbit of Neptune, its broken hull glowing faintly as pieces burned into the void. Humanity had done the unthinkable. They had destroyed a ship that the galaxy itself feared. But as the echoes of triumph faded across Earth and the colonies, a heavy silence settled, because every commander, every soldier, every citizen knew that this was only the beginning. The Kareni ship floated nearby, its silver surface rippling like water. The strange allies had guided humanity into the beast and given them the key to kill it, but many still doubted them. Admiral Chen stood at the viewport aboard the Resolute, watching the alien vessel. His jaw was tight, his eyes cold. He had no choice but to trust them now. Yet in the back of his mind, a single question burned. Why had they helped? Across Earth, cities erupted with celebration. People poured into the streets waving flags, hugging strangers, chanting the names of the ships, and soldiers who had fought entire neighborhoods turned their lights into patterns that read, "We live." But for every cheer, there were tears. Families wept for those who had not come home. Thousands of names were already etched into lists of the fallen, including Commander Elias Kane and his squad. Their sacrifice had given Earth its first victory. In the War Council beneath the surface of Earth, the leaders of humanity gathered again. Screens showed wreckage fields, maps of the system lists of destroyed ships. Their numbers were grim. Half the Defender fleet was gone. Entire outposts burned, supply lines shattered. Humanity had dealt a wound, but had bled deeply in return. Chen's voice cut. Through the room, steady and sharp, we struck them, but the Dominion is vast. They will not forget this. They will not forgive this. The next fleet they send will be larger, and when it comes, they will aim not to intimidate, but to destroy the Kareni. A figure appeared on a separate screen. Their pale light shimmered as they spoke. You are correct. The Dominion never suffers insult. They will send not just warships, but whole armadas, and they will bring their enforcers, the Harbingers. Even your greatest fleets cannot match their fury unless you are ready. The word Harbinger chilled the room. No one knew what it meant, but from the way the Kareni spoke, every human could feel the weight of it. Something worse than the dreadnought, something older. Something terrible. President Alvarez of the United Earth Council leaned forward, his voice shaking but firm. Then tell us, Kareni, how do we prepare? What do we need? The aliens' light shifted darker as though they were reluctant to speak. You will need unity. You will need weapons beyond your imagination, and you will need to show the galaxy that humanity will not kneel, because if you stand alone, the Dominion will smother you. But if you make the galaxy tremble with you, others may rise there. Words stirred, whispers, unity, weapons, allies. Humanity had never looked beyond its own system for support, but now the thought of calling to the stars did not feel impossible. Admiral Chen straightened, then gave the command. Send the signal. We will not wait for the galaxy to find us. We will call to them now. Across the void, human transmitters roared to life, radio towers, railgun satellites, colony relays, even jury-rigged beacons strapped to mining stations. All broadcast the same message carried. Into the stars, this is humanity. We stand defiant. We will not kneel. We have slain the Dominion dreadnought. We fight for freedom. Stand with us. The message repeated again and again, echoing across space. Until the Dominion came, humanity would make sure. Every listening ear knew they existed, but celebration gave way quickly to fear. Days later, strange signals appeared at the edge of the system. Faint, not like the Dominion, but not human either. Chen ordered them tracked, and within hours, they were identified. Ships, many of them. Some massive, others small. They were not Dominion, they were not Kareni, they were something else. Entire fleets converging on the solar system drawn by humanity's desperate cry. In the war room, generals argued wildly. Some claimed they were allies coming to answer the call. Others shouted they were scavengers, raiders, pirates, hoping to plunder a wounded Earth. The truth was, no one knew. And the signals grew stronger every day. Meanwhile, deep inside the Dominion's territories, fury spread like wildfire. The loss of the dreadnought was not just a defeat, it was an insult. Entire councils of Dominion rulers gathered to decide the punishment. Whole fleets were ordered to prepare, armies readied, weapons never before unleashed. In this part of the galaxy were pulled from vaults. The word humanity spread across Dominion channels, followed by one command: erase them. Back on Earth, Admiral Chen paced the command deck of the Resolute. His fleet was broken, yet still alive. His soldiers were weary, yet still burning with determination. He looked at the names of the fallen scrolling on his screen. He looked at the wreckage still orbiting Neptune. He looked at the strange Kareni ship drifting silently near their formation. And he whispered to himself, they are coming again. That night the sky over Earth burned with falling debris, wreckage from the dreadnought pulled into atmosphere. People looked upward, seeing fiery trails streak across the heavens. Some feared it was the second wave of the Dominion. Others whispered it was a sign from their fallen defenders that their sacrifice still lit the sky. And then a new message came through, not from the Kareni, not from the Dominion, but from one of the approaching fleets. The transmission was fractured, rough, and spoken in a language barely understood. Yet the meaning was clear. We saw your fire. We heard your defiance. We come to see if you are worthy. The words cut across every channel humanity had asked for. Allies, and now the galaxy was answering. but not with open arms. With judgment, the celebration turned to silence. The war was far from over. The Dominion had not yet struck again, but other powers now closed in. Humanity's greatest victory had drawn eyes from every corner of the stars, and in those eyes was hunger, fear, and curiosity. On the bridge of the resolute Admiral Chen looked at the stars, where countless ships approached. His crew watched him, waiting for his words. His face was carved from stone, but his voice carried like iron. Then let them come. We will show them who we are. The stage was set. The Dominion gathered fleets for vengeance. The galaxy's scavengers and warriors drew near. Humanity stood scarred, but unbroken. The war, that began with a single countdown, was now burning across the stars. And as the first of the unknown fleets slipped past the edge of the system, one thought echoed through every human heart. The real storm had only just begun. The first of the unknown. Fleets crossed into the system, their ships vast and alien, their signals echoing across every human channel. Some were jagged and dark like predators. Others gleamed with strange crystalline light. Some ships pulsed with organic patterns as if alive. Humanity had called to the stars, and the stars had answered not with banners of friendship, but with silence and judgment. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Resolute, his eyes locked on the swirling mass of contacts appearing on the holotable. His crew whispered nervously. Their fleet was battered, still limping from the dreadnought battle. Weapons, half-reloaded armor patched with scavenged steel. Yet now dozens of unknown fleets surrounded them. Each commander, each captain, each admiral knew one truth. The Dominion was coming behind them, and these strangers were in front. Humanity was trapped in the center of a storm. The Kareni ship drifted nearby, its silver hull glowing faintly. The alien envoy appeared again, their light flickering. You called to the galaxy. Now the galaxy watches. Some may help, some may test, some may destroy. You must prove yourselves before all of them, or be crushed between Dominion vengeance and galactic fear. Chen's jaw tightened. He looked out at the void, at the strangers gathering. He thought of Kane's strike team of the dead, whose names still echoed through Earth's streets. He thought of the children looking up at the cracked moon. He thought of the Dominion's final promise, "You will burn." Then he spoke. Tell the fleets this: humanity will not kneel to Dominion. Humanity will not kneel to you. If you come for war, you will find war. If you come for peace, you will find allies. The message was sent. For long minutes, nothing answered. The fleets drifted closer, silent, massive shadows against the stars. Soldiers aboard the Defender fleet held their breath. Fingers hovered over triggers. Civilians on Earth huddled in bunkers, praying, and then one voice broke through, a deep grinding tone, spoken in a language almost too old to translate. "We saw you kill a dreadnought. No world has done this. We will not fight you. We will watch." Another voice followed, sharper, colder. "Humanity killed Dominion. Still, we will test you. If you survive, we may call you brothers. If not, we will take what remains." And then another, softer, like wind across stone. "Your fire shakes the stars. We will not fight you. We will give you warning. The Dominion sends Harbingers. They are already moving." The war room on Earth erupted in arguments. Allies, raiders, threats, warnings. Humanity had not drawn just one fleet, but dozens. Some curious, some hostile, some uncertain. Chen silenced the voices with one hand. His command was, "Clear, prepare for all of them." Days stretched into nights as Earth and her colonies rebuilt faster than ever before. The Kareni taught them fragments of stolen knowledge. New shields, new weapons, new ways of binding their ships together. Engineers worked without rest. Soldiers trained in orbital stations. The Defender fleet grew scarred, but sharper above Earth. The wreckage of the dreadnought was gathered, not just for scrap, but for a symbol. Pieces were reforged into a great ring station, Tiwei. Monument visible even from the ground. Its name was carved in light, the valiant for the shuttle and the soldiers who had given everything to bring the monster down. people came to look at it and whispered, "Humanity lives, humanity fights." But shadows loomed. The Kareni spoke again, their voice urgent. The Harbingers moved. They are not ships. They are living weapons born from the Dominion's oldest war. They do not conquer worlds. They erase them. They will come here first to cleanse what you have done. The word Harbinger spread like wildfire. Entire cities whispered it like a curse. Mothers held children tighter. Soldiers prayed before battle drills. Leaders stood sleepless, staring at maps. The dreadnought had been victory. But the Harbingers promised something darker, something worse. At the edge of the system, the unknown fleets waited watching. Some sent traders bringing strange metals and fuel. Others sent raiding parties testing Earth's defenses. The Defender fleet beat them back, each time showing no weakness. And slowly, grudgingly, some of the fleets began to circle not as predators, but as wary neighbors. Humanity's fire had begun to shift the balance. Then it came. The first Harbinger entered the system, blacker than space, larger than mountains. Its body was not metal, but something alive, twisted and burning. Its eyes glowed like suns. Its very presence made instruments scream and soldiers tremble. A single Harbinger had arrived, and even from the edge of the system, its power felt like the weight of death. On Earth, people looked up and felt it in their bones, the same fear that had come when the Dominion first spoke, kneel or burn. But this time, no one knelt. They remembered the dreadnought falling. They remembered Kane's last words, "We will never kneel," and the cry spread across Earth, across Mars, across every colony, a roar of defiance. The Defender fleet moved out railguns, primed missiles, loaded new shields glowing from Kareni designs. The alien silver ship floated beside them, its voice steady. "Humanity, this is your trial. If you stand now, the galaxy will never forget. If you fall, none will remember." Admiral Chen stood at the front of the bridge of the Resolute, his crew silent, his heart burning. He looked at the Harbinger filling the stars, and he said to all of Earth and all of humanity, "Today we show them. Today we make the galaxy tremble." The fleet surged forward, engines roared, weapons fired, missiles streaked, railguns hammered. The Harbinger screamed, its voice echoing like the end of worlds. Light clashed against darkness, ships shattered, space itself burned. On Earth, billions watched the sky as streaks of fire lit the heavens, and in every heart, human and alien alike, a single truth began. To form humanity was no longer a small world with fragile dreams. Humanity was fire. Humanity was defiance. Humanity was war. And the galaxy would never forget the day when aliens first faced humanity's warships, and the stars themselves shook in fear.